fans are finally putting the lines on Aviva Stadium for Nebraska and Northwestern on Saturday. Hello, this is the Showdown with Sam and Amy. Sam McCune along with Amy Just. It has been a beautiful 3 days here in Dublin. The weather's been impeccable, almost as impeccable as the field. We got to watch about 7 minutes of practice today, and here we go. Nebraska's finally going to play this game. We've been talking about Ireland for years. They're here. They're ready. Scott Frost just talked to us. And Amy, what's been your top, I guess, memory or visual so far of this trip? There's been a lot to take in, including this incredible stadium.
Yeah, I did my Jameson tour today, and it's got to be that. Just the casks and the smell, the oaky, bourbon-y. I know it's not bourbon, but they're aging them in wild turkey barrels.
Yeah.
And it's it's amazing. So if you get the chance to do that, if you're here in Ireland, I highly suggest it.
You got 3 more days, 2 more days.
Yeah, so that's what has stood out for me. But just walking around and, just taking it in. The people have been great to talk to. It's been a great trip.
Agreed. It is, and there's actually, they talk about Ireland being green, and I'm sure almost all of the country is. Dublin is a city with a lot of stone, and it's a real city, but there's these splashes of green, these brief moments, and everybody kind of flocks to these spaces in the city, and it's just beautiful. And the weather, I'm not kidding. People, it's like 65 to 70 degrees every day.
Yep. 68 right now, high of 70, low of 54, according to my watch.
There's virtually no wind, but if there is wind, it's a breeze, and in here there's nothing. And the press box here is outdoors, and it's just an amazing weather. That, man, I'm going to miss it when I have to go back and see 95 degrees.
Same.
I'll tell you, the stadium is memorable for me, and just, walking around. There's a kind of a fusion of old school from like 400 years ago, and then a stadium like this, which was built 15 years ago, and it's like a city in 2 different places. It's really, really interesting. All right, let's get to the football stuff.
Yes.
Nebraska football has had more change, and you've written about this, so have I. More change in an offseason than maybe ever in history, ever. 15 transfers, a brand new offensive coaching staff. Scott Frost talking to us today about he's going to be doing something he hasn't done in a long time, which isn't call plays and just watch the football game. It's been a long time since he hasn't done that. The first time as a head coach. So everything here is new. It's not always easy to know what we're certain about, but I'd like to know what you're certain that this team's going to do well. Not poorly. We'll get to the poorly in a moment. What are you confident that this team's going to actually do well?
Their edge rush.
Okay.
That's a strong unit. You have very talented guys there, and I think that they're going to make Northwestern pay on Saturday. I do.
3 black shirts right now. They're going to have 4 after this week.
Oh, yeah.
Because O'Shawn Mathis
doubt.
can't get one because he hasn't played a game, I guess, and that's the way they decided to do it. I don't know that I agree with that or don't agree with it. It doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is they got 4 of them.
Yep.
So they're going to have 4 of the 11 at that one position. I agree. They're going to be really, really good. Here's what I think I'm confident about. I'm actually going to kind of walk out on a limb a little bit with the offense and say this.
Okay.
I think they'll be able to throw the football between 0 and 15 yards. And I know that doesn't seem like a big thing, but with this program, it is, because they've actually struggled with it. Adrian Martinez had a lot of strengths. That wasn't one of them. And I actually think Casey Martinez will come out and throw some of those quick, short throws that then ask the receivers and the running backs to do the work. And I think that was not one of Adrian's strengths. And so I do think that's Casey Thompson's strength. He's a much smaller guy than Adrian, who, by the way, is a captain at Kansas State. Congrats to him on that. Casey isn't a captain here, but I do think he's going to put some of the skill players in a better position to make plays because of the way he throws the ball accurately from 0 to 15 yards. We heard Scott Frost talk about efficiency. And he said, I know I sound like a broken record talking about that, but there's a reason he sounds like a broken record. They kind of need it. That's the one thing they've been missing. They had big plays last year. They just couldn't get it done in the red zone. So efficiency, I think, is really important. What gives you pause? Like true pause. Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns, but what's the thing you're like, this could blow up in their face on Saturday potentially?
I don't know if there's anything that I'm like really anxious about, but the offensive line, it gives me pause. Just because we don't know, right? We don't know. And yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. The secondary is a bit of an unknown, but the offensive line, we don't know. And that gets extrapolated by the fact that we don't know what the Northwestern's defensive line is doing.
True
there's a lot
mystery there.
Because there's a lot of new faces in that unit too, and obviously, when you have two unknowns going up against each other, who knows?
That's
right?
great.
And so that's what gives me pause for this game in particular, not for the entire season, but at least for now.
Yep.
That's what worries me a little bit.
That's a good point about Northwestern. This isn't Ohio State's defensive line. We don't actually know how good it is. You're right, because they got a bunch of transfers from a bunch of different places. Offensive line is a good one. I think their goal in camp was to kind of come off the ball and try to plow some holes. I think they'll try to do that. My pause, honestly, is tackling in the secondary. I know Quentin Newsom's a good tackler. I think he's been maybe the best tackler on the team, secondary-wise, last year. But I don't know about the other guys. Mouse Farmer, Marquise Buford. I think Buford is a guy that can pack a wallop, but he's a smaller guy. And then we'll see at that other corner spot. Probably going to be Tommy Hill, physical guy. But tackling in the secondary is important because sooner or later somebody's going to pop a run, and they've got a good running back. Evan Hull's a good running back.
Yes.
Somebody's going to pop a run, and somebody's got to make a tackle back there because there's not much difference between a 12-yard run and a 63-yard run, except for the yards and whether the safety made a tackle.
Yep.
And so I just wonder if Nebraska has a bust or two back there, and if that bust is costly enough to cost them points. Okay, let's go to the predictions. Nebraska's a big favorite. I mean, and 13 points is a big favorite in Big Ten football. I would say 80% of the games in the Big Ten, and then 95% if you don't include Ohio State, have lines below 13 points. So the general wisdom here is that Nebraska is way better than Northwestern. The general feeling among, I think, us as writers is we're not sure Nebraska's going to win the game. Do you sense that? I mean, you're new here, so it's actually, you probably have a better perception of this than I do, because my perception is like we're all kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But what do you think? Because you don't have all these years of baggage.
I don't. I mean, I do from my childhood, but that's so far removed, right? The Bill Callahan era was my childhood. So, okay, a little therapy was needed.
I get you.
I have a pretty decent feeling that they'll win. I told one of my friends to take the over. I don't know, right? I mean, I look at last year, and I know you can only put so much stock into last year.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at.
To be clear, I think it's quite possible that your perspective is helpful in the sense that, again, we've almost been conditioned to expect some sort of bizarre, weird thing to happen.
I'm not saying that nothing bizarre is going to happen.
But, somehow it contributes to Nebraska losing. I think Nebraska's going to win the game. But I just wonder about how they're going to do on offense. Last year they went into the Illinois game, thought they were going to beat Illinois. And they tried to run the ball for a quarter, then they had to abandon it because they fell behind, and then they fumbled, and then Illinois returned it. There were like 4 fluke plays in that game, Amy, and they all went against Nebraska. All of them. And so you just kind of wonder about that a little bit. Is there a player you're going to watch, a pick to click, so to speak?
Not a player, but just establishing the run game. I think that is incredibly important for Saturday. If they don't establish the run, then I'm not so confident in their chances.
You got to pick it back. You only get one.
I know.
And they're all probably going to share about 10 carries each, but you get one back.
Grant.
Anthony Grant. He's going to wear number 10, by the way, on Saturday. For people that are watching, they're going to change around some of the numbers on the roster because they have to make it fit for special teams. So Anthony Grant is 23 on a roster number, but he's going to wear 10, I think, on Saturday. You're going to see a lot of different numbers. So Anthony Grant, number 10. Okay, that's your pick to click for a back?
Well, we'll see if I'm right.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to actually pick Ramir Johnson, but not because I think he's going to run a lot. I think he's going to do some running and catching, and he'll do a couple other things. That'd be my pick to click on offense. On defense, I think Luke Reimer is going to make a play. Luke Reimer, in my opinion, is the best defensive player on the team, and I've thought that for a while.
Hot take.
It is. He doesn't talk a lot, and he doesn't play the flashiest position. But Luke is around the ball, and he's a good blitzer, and he just makes plays. My hunch is he's going to force a fumble, or he's going to recover a fumble, or he might have a pick. Something's going to happen good with Luke Reimer. On the special teams, I think the kicker is in a slightly better spot, Timmy Bleekrode, than the punter. We'll see. I think this is a unique place to punt. It's beautiful, But I would get a little messed up by the visuals. Whereas the kicking, I think, is going to be pretty easy. And I think Bleak Road has been aces in camp. So those are the names that we'll be watching. Okay, hey, we will have lots more coverage here from Aviva Stadium on Saturday. And before that, we want you to subscribe to HuskerExtra.com. The app is customizable. We have more updates coming. Yes, we do. We've got more features coming here in August and in September that Amy knows about, and we'll be able to share those with you later on. But for Amy, I'm Sam with the Showdown here in Dublin, Ireland. It's been beautiful, and we'll see what happens on Saturday.